And you are now behind enemy lines. Hey there, how you doing, everybody? Gene Berardelli, Ross Galloway here with you. Ross was trying to tell everybody that I was doing my makeup, apparently. I don't know what that's all about, but hey, what's going on, man?
You don't powder up before the show?
I barely have time to do anything. Today I had to take the Long Island Railroad into work because Marcos had his spring concert and they needed the car. And I'm going to be watching the spring concert afterwards. I couldn't get to see it. So I got back here about 8:30-ish, and then I had to upload a bunch of clips. I had to ask the diva what he wanted to talk about, and then, put a show together. It's not like I can just arrive and everything's here for me.
Listen, man. Take your time, bro. I know the Long Island Railroad nowadays is more dangerous than a South African farm.
Well, I mean, at least I wouldn't be considered committing an act of treason by not taking the railroad. So, but obviously we got a lot to talk about today. There's a lot been going on in the news, a lot of little stuff that seems to be adding up to a lot of big stuff. But before we get to everything, I got to do the grift and say, hey, everybody, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the show, hit the notification bell so you don't miss other shows. And if you want to chat along with us, the chat is open. We've been talking to a few people already, a couple of our regulars. And if you're so inclined to give us a super chat and you want to, help fund the show and all that we're doing here, because we are some broke asses, feel free to do so as well. But it's not a requirement to hang out and chat with us on the show. We would appreciate it, but you guys do you. All right. That said, what have you been up to this week, man?
Stop being a beggar.
Okay, so you went a little robot on us there, but listen, I will beg, I will plead, I will grift as much as I can, because it's the way I roll. It's we want to have good content here. People can feel free to support us.
You already know my stance on that. Don't follow us, but no, follow Gene, please. Follow Gene.
Yes, we know your stance on it totally, but I'm actually going to turn up your volume here if I can. Give me a second, because you're coming in a little bit low. I got to edit your mic settings. I got to make you a little louder, because we need to hear you. Lord knows you're a shrinking violet, and if we can't hear you, what's the world coming to?
Let's get into it, shall we?
Let's get into it. So I want to talk about sort of what we've been seeing in real time, and that is the Biden crash out, the Biden cover-up, this biggest story that, as Ross Galloway said, the biggest story that has never been talked about in the past year. And I think we're starting to see the unraveling of Joe Biden and the Biden administration, but more importantly, ruining the credibility of the Democrats. Let me put this out there for you for a second, pal. I know people are saying, what's the big deal? What does it matter about Joe Biden's mental decline, his feeble mind, feeble body, and all that? I said it matters not because of Joe Biden, but because of all the people that remain that were part of covering up for Joe Biden. Those people are still there. The Chuck Schumers are still there. The Nancy Pelosi's are still there. The staffers are still around and going to be around for years. That's why it's important to keep talking about it.
So I have a different take, man. I don't want everyone to fall into this trap of the White House staffers were covering up and the media helped in the cover up and they lied. Okay, who cares? I don't care about that necessarily. What I do care about is if the story is true, which we all know it's true, that Joe Biden was out to lunch since before 2020, then who the fuck was running the country, right? I don't care that Chuck Schumer is a liar. We know Chuck Schumer's a liar. I don't care that Joe Scarborough is a piece of you-know-what. We all knew that. Who was running the country? Who allowed 20 million illegal immigrants to come through? You could say it was 8 to 10 million. Some people say 13 million. I go to a round number. 20 million illegals come in. Who allowed that?
Hang on a second. But aren't those people one and the same?
So let's focus on that. Forget about the cover-up, right?
But it's the same. You can't talk about one without the other, in my opinion. I don't think that it's something that we can really do. I think you need to expose who was doing the cover-up in order to get to the people who were running things in the so-called shadow government here. You got to listen, you're a law enforcement guy. You have a little bit of a background in that, right? You got to get the small fish to roll over on the big fish, right? So don't you get that by showing how all these staffers and all these other people and personalities were out there carrying the water for Joe Biden? Isn't that how you get to those people?
Yeah, but I get what you're saying, Gene, but it's not like, I think Jon Stewart had like the best take on the Daily Show where he said like, this was the worst cover up in history, right? Like anybody with a set of eyes saw that this guy could not speak before the first election, not even the fake second election that he was trying to run in. It was the first one. Everyone on our side of the aisle knew he wasn't running the country, right? So, okay, you could say we'll get the small fish to turn on the big fish. Okay, who signed those pardons while Joe Biden was sitting at Donald Trump's inauguration a few months ago? Who initiated the auto pen? Who put the piece of paper in? Drag Joe Biden in under oath and see if he can name a few of the names that he so-called pardoned and why.
You think Joe Biden's going to be competent to speak under oath about that? I don't think so at all.
I don't care. What's not competent about him? Does he not know right from wrong? He's mentally competent to stand trial.
Hold on. Did you hear him under oath with the Robert Hur tapes that came out?
Of course. Finally, we heard it, right? Finally, we heard those tapes.
Right, but you're saying to do that again and you're going to get somewhere with it. Come on. You're not going to get anywhere with that.
Yeah, you will. You drag him into a federal court outside of Washington, D.C. with an unbiased jury, he will 100% go down. First of all, you set perjury traps for the guy, too.
Think about what you just said. An unbiased jury in Washington, D.C.
No, outside.
There is no such thing.
Outside of Washington, D.C. Just like they got Trump in Florida, you could do it in Delaware. Delaware is not that
outside of Washington, D.C. You're in Maryland and Virginia. You're not going to get an unbiased jury there either. That's where all the Washington society people
any
live.
Place he had classified documents, including University of Pennsylvania. They have jurisdiction. You could file suit. You can file criminal charges in that district in Pennsylvania.
That ship has sailed. That ship has sailed. They had a recommendation to not do that.
From the last DOJ.
Well, listen, we got some comments that we can bring into this discussion here. The coffee grinder, I'm not a coffee fan myself, but everybody else is. Senate Oversight Committee has sent the top 4 staff members a notice to appear, especially the one who had direct access to the auto pen unit. Yeah, James Comer, I believe, also said he has information. I know that I have some friends that went to the Republican National Lawyers Association meeting recently, and Comer was speaking there saying that he knows who was doing the auto pen. So maybe we'll get that soon.
James Comer, congressman, Republican, great guy. We controlled Congress when he led that committee, right? He was doing it during Biden's presidency. What was the vote on impeaching Biden back then? Oh, that's right. We never had one, right? These Senate hearings, these House hearings, they're pointless. The House cannot lock you up if you broke the law. They can refer you to DOJ. Cut out the middleman. DOJ should just file charges. That's it.
It's a little bit of a rush to me, but I hear. Listen. I hear what you're saying to bypass the middleman. I don't think you can do that. There's a couple of things that I want to touch on. Let's go back a little bit. The reason why you talk about the scandal is because it's not only about putting asses in jail. It's also about putting Republicans in office. You have to keep the base motivated and show them this. You have to give them their moment to be angry about it, to be frustrated about it, to be motivated about it. You need to embarrass the Democrats over and over again. You need to embarrass the media over and over again. So that way in the next election cycle, they don't have the same influence over the electorate that they had in the previous one. As far as putting people in jail, let's put the right people in jail. Joe Biden, to me, he's the weekend at Bernie's president. I don't think he knew what he had for breakfast today. I don't think putting him in jail does anything. Putting the people who were running the auto pen, I'm down with that. But what good does it have an 82-year-old man with stage 4 prostate cancer? What good is that going to do anything for this country?
Retribution? They charged Donald.
Retribution doesn't get you anywhere. An eye for an eye leaves everybody half blind.
Okay, good. And then we're back to a fair fight again. What good is it if I have no eye and you got both yours?
listen, you can if you want to put an 80-year-old man in jail and feel good about yourself, that's cool. I'm not down with that.
They literally tried to put Donald Trump in for mishandling classified information. Joe Biden is on tape admitting mishandling classified information. He needs to be charged.
See, Deborah, I think is with you. If there's no actual consequences, then what's the actual point, bro? Yeah.
So let me just.
But let's get the consequences.
Hold on,
you know what?
I know what Deborah's saying there. Gene, you're saying you got to give the base the red meat and get them all excited. You're losing the base. In the circles that I travel, we make fun of Republicans that hold hearings and write strongly worded letters after they're done with their hearings. They accomplish nothing. Go ahead.
So let me ask you this then. A jury in Washington is going to accomplish something?
Why do you keep going back to Washington?
Virginia, Maryland, Pennsylvania. You go to any of these places, okay. Delaware, New York.
So let's say
going to accomplish?
Let's say they don't. The process is the penalty, right? Make him spend money on lawyers.
Give the penalty to the right people. Let's make the punishment going forward beyond the couple of years that Joe Biden's going to be alive. Let's make the punishment going forward to this next generation.
I'm not only saying Joe Biden. I've been calling for mass arrests. I want to see lots of people go before a jury and go through the process. Donald Trump is only a couple of years younger than Joe Biden. I don't remember you saying any of this when they were doing it to Donald Trump.
Well, Donald Trump could handle it. That's the difference. And by the way, I also said that all the lawfare against Donald Trump was novel legal theories that were stretched to the maximum limit. There was no substance there, and that the evidence would prove it out. And kind of happened.
So then what about payback? We don't get payback? I voted for Donald Trump for retribution.
You want payback for a year, or you want payback for generations? Which you aiming for here? I need to serious question.
So how do we get payback for generations with a Congress that does nothing? The Republican Party is useless.
Oh, okay. You're assuming that nothing will happen. I'm assuming that the DOJ will go after the next generation of these people who were involved in all these scandals, the people who had the auto pen, the people who were the shadow government identified in these books that are coming out left, right, and center.
Okay. And
those are the people I want to go after. I don't give a shit about Joe Biden sitting in a jail cell wasting away his final years.
We kind of got sidetracked. My main point wasn't let's go after Joe Biden. It is I want to see Joe Biden go to jail with his family, but that's not my main point. My main point, just to go back to the beginning of this segment, was I don't care about the people in political world saying that the emperor's new clothes are beautiful. I really don't care about them. I care about the people you're talking about.
I definitely care about them because those are the unelected Democrats that remain for years and decades to come. I want to see Jake Tapper embarrassed so that way people remember every time he shows up on TV that he's not to be trusted. I want to see Joe Scarborough laughing about his comments and how he got it wrong, because people will remember the more times they're shown to be wrong, the less they'll listen to them. That's part of winning the culture.
Well, of course, and we're doing that. But what I'm not seeing, and I'm hoping I'm wrong, but the clock is ticking. We're nearly 5 or 6 months into this administration, not one arrest yet, anywhere.
Rick, I think I'm missing your joke here. What train are we talking about? I think I missed that comment. Coffee grinder back again. I want the actual actors that have done the dirty deeds in prison. And Deborah says, I agree with going after the people holding the auto pen. I think we all agree with that. Let's take that issue. We'll put that to the side. There's mass agreement on that. Going after Joe Biden and the Biden family to the extent that we can, because there's pardons there. Absolutely. And if you want to, I've had conversations with some lawyers, and they want to go after the pardons in court as well. They want to see if they can get those canceled. Case law from the Supreme Court, the Burdick case and others like that, seem to say that you won't be able to do that, but these are unprecedented circumstances if there was no knowledge of the president issuing the pardons. I think if there's evidence of that, we need to go after those pardons. But let me ask you this about that. There's case law out there that says if you accept a pardon, that is tantamount to some sort of confession, even if the pardon doesn't list any crime on it. There is some case law that says that. It's not settled law, but if all these people that accepted pardons in the Biden family, Fauci, Kinzinger and others, Cheney. We can go around calling them admitted criminal Liz Cheney, admitted criminal so-and-so. Why would we want to get rid of that stigma?
I want more than admitted criminal. That doesn't do me any good. Like, we need to use lawfare, Gene. I know we don't see eye to eye on this. I am all about retribution. It's time to drag them in. Like we said, they can't plead the fifth on something they were pardoned for necessarily. So set perjury traps for them. Swear them in. If it's before Congress, which is a waste of time, swear them in. Set perjury traps. Ask them embarrassing questions that you know they're going to lie about, and you can prove they're lying. And then you have new crimes that the pardon doesn't cover. Right? I want retribution.
Yeah, I think Rick agrees with you. Take a look at that comment. Tell me what your reaction.
I 100% agree with them. It's time to go scorched earth, right? They not only tried to put Donald Trump in jail, they tried to kill him, right? You could say it was some weird kid that, acted alone. I don't buy it, right? Especially in light of James Comey in 8647, right? They want this man dead. So bring it on.
Mm-hmm. Coffee Grinder says, what is unprecedented and will have to have a court challenge is the pre-pardon. This is what will be challenged. You know what? We need to know transparency of the facts and circumstances behind each and every one of those pardons. But
I think the pre-pardon...
hang on. Some flowers for you. There you go.
Yes. You got to set traps. They did it to us, right? The pre-pardons, I'm pretty sure those are going to be legal. The president pretty much has plenary power with the pardon, right? Especially when, federal statute, there's a million of them. So you can't possibly list every possible crime this person would have committed. Richard Nixon was sort of pre-pardoned too, right? He wasn't officially charged with a crime.
Right.
It was just a blanket pardon. Where I think the Biden problems are problematic, the Biden pardons are problematic, is that nowhere in the Constitution does it say he even needs to write or sign a pardon. However, obviously, if he's issuing a pardon, he has to know that he is, in fact, issuing a pardon. And it's not clear that he truly knew that he was issuing those pardons. And that's where those pardons are really going to come into question legally, I think.
I agree with you on that. By the way, if you're out there in the chat participating, you guys are doing so great. Also, remember to smash the thumbs up button for us, because that'll attract more people in to continue the conversation with us. I did come prepared, pal, to kind of rub the nose of the media when it comes to this issue, because of all the things that are coming to light. I mentioned Joe Scarborough, and we made fun of Joe Scarborough going on TV and saying, clip this, and saying that this is the best Biden ever. Remember that? Well, he was recently challenged on this by Mark Halpern, a Democrat who has an online show as well. And I want to show you the clip, and I want you to listen to how, even now, Joe Scarborough refuses to say that he was wrong, even when pressed by a fellow Democrat. Let's take a look at this clip.
Now, what you said in the wake of that meeting, this is 105, please, on Morning Joe.
As I've said here on the show over the past couple weeks, I've spent a good bit of time with Joe Biden. I've spent a couple of hours with Joe Biden, sitting, talking, going around the world as far as talking issues, talking the economy, talking inflation. He's cogent. But I undersold him when I said he was cogent. He's far beyond cogent. In fact, I think he's better than he's ever been. Intellectually, analytically, because he's been around for 50 years. And, I don't know if people know this or not, Biden used to be a hothead. Sometimes that Irishman would get in front of the reasoning. Sometimes he would say things he didn't want to say. This is, and I don't really, I don't really care. Start your tape right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth.
Here we go.
And F you if you can't handle the truth. This version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever.
Okay, so a lot to unpack there.
Unpack there. Mark, you have to explain to everybody, that's actually the first time I've seen the clip all the way through. And you were the one, 6 months later to alert me to the fact that this had going viral.
He's laughing about it. He's fucking laughing about it. That, oh, it's the first time I'm seeing this. Ha ha ha. And you had to tell me. I took the clip down because I wanted to get the full facial reaction here, the full Monty from Galloway.
What I will say, Gene, is as bad as that is, and I don't want to give you too much credit, Jake Tapper is way worse. I mean, at least Joe Scarborough, he's like a Sean Hannity, right? They don't really claim to be journalists. Scarborough, every once in a while, I think, does try to hint that he is a journalist, but everybody knows that he's not. Jake Tapper and CNN masquerade as a news network, and Jake Tapper masquerades as a journalist, right? And he literally wrote a book about how everyone was fooled, including himself, when it's his only job as a journalist is to seek out the truth and question those in power. And he acted as a mouthpiece for the Democratic Party instead. So as bad as Scarborough is, hat tip to you. You called it last week. Tapper is way worse.
And I'm sure we're going to get to that when we do Buffoonology 101 on Friday as well. But I want to continue on with, I got to continue with Morning Joe here because he continues on to defend himself.
Yeah, well, as I told you, and people may not realize, you don't pay much attention to social media anymore. You don't pay much attention to criticism. But I told you for several months, I said, Joe, best Biden ever has become the symbol for the right of the media and MSNBC having so much Trump derangement syndrome that you're claiming that a guy who's clearly lost mental acuity is the best Biden ever. Now, I say to people, go watch the State of the Union address. Talk to people who talked to Joe Biden. He had good days and bad days. You were with him on a good day and had conversations with him on a good day. But
on good days.
Good days. Yeah. Looking back at that, do you say, well, it was misleading to say best Biden ever without caveating it and say, except on the days when he's not the best Biden ever?
Well, but I never saw those days personally.
Well, you did because you saw him address a dead congresswoman and you saw him in South Carolina.
A dead congresswoman, yeah.
Yeah, well, more than that. I mean, I can show you. I can show you the RNC clip reels. There were plenty of days in public when he was not the best Biden ever, and of course, shortly after,
he stumbled and bumbled around. Mark, I mean, yeah, he certainly did. Donald Trump did. Other politicians did, but
it's the whataboutisms. It's always the damn whataboutisms when it comes to these people. Yeah, Biden stumbled, but so did Trump. And then he continues to go on. You know, I'm done with Joe. He continues to go on and say what he thinks about Trump and then says, well, you have to understand my context of having personal conversations with Joe Biden. Bullshit. You lied. You know you lied. You covered it up. You were one of his friends. And now you have to weep the whirlwind. This guy needs to get fired from television. It's not going to happen. It's certainly not going to happen. But guys like Morning Joe, they no longer need to be in media.
I don't even have issues with the whataboutisms if they're actually true. There's no way you can compare the mental acuity, stamina, whatever word you want to use, of Joe Biden to Donald Trump, right? It's not even close. So the whataboutism there isn't even true. They're just making stuff up. And don't forget, Gene, this is the same party, and I include the media in the Democratic Party, obviously, the same party that propped up John Fetterman, who couldn't string two sentences together during his debate, Dianne Feinstein, who was, told how to vote in the Senate, or people are telling her, say yes, say no, right? Like, this party has no problem, and we have some of them too, like a Mitch McConnell, he needs to go. I've been saying this for a while too, but the Democrats are worse. So, like, this whataboutism is true, right? Because I can point to 5 or 6 of them that are totally out in space, and they're defended by this party and the media. That's an organ of the party.
Yeah, I want to take 2 points that you made and tie them together. Biden's lack of stamina that has been on display for years now, and the mention of Jake Tapper's book with Alex Thompson. Alex Thompson was on CNN, and the discussion turned to some fake town halls that Joe Biden's campaign was creating. I think they were creating it for B-roll, and they were creating it for different campaign videos and things like that to use. But what Alex Thompson says here on CNN to me, and that everyone is now saying, it was apparent, because again, they're gaslighting the nation on the left. Joe Biden couldn't even perform or act, normally at these fake town halls. This to me is the craziest thing to come out yet.
Alex, the fact of the fake town hall is not actually the worst part of the story that you report in the book.
Yes, other campaigns have used fake town halls. Now, I would say those town halls usually are in addition to real town halls. Joe Biden was doing neither. This fake town hall was in order to film it so they could make it into campaign commercials. They filmed it in Delaware with supporters. But Joe Biden, at this point, this is the spring of 2024, Joe Biden's town hall, which was closed to press, was so bad that campaign officials determined that it was not usable for a campaign commercial. So they took 90 minutes, 2 hours out of the president's day. They filmed an entire town hall, and they determined that it was not usable. Now, some people say this was because Joe Biden was incoherent. He could not really articulate his thoughts in a pithy or even semi-normal way. Some people just said, the lighting was bad. That was sort of the 2 points of view. But the point is, it shows how what the campaign status was in the spring of 2024 when they were trying to deal with a candidate that wasn't a decline.
Wait, someone told you the lighting was bad?
That's one of the excuses.
You're saying that they spent millions of dollars to stage a town hall? Well, we didn't get the lighting right.
That was one of the excuses.
I mean,
Unbelievable.
and this comes back to the question of how many people were aware of things like that, but said nothing. And
Everyone was aware of that. Every single person with a pair of eyes was aware of it. They may not have been aware of the specifics of it, but they were all aware of Joe Biden's feeble mind and feeble body and cognitive decline. Just wanted to go back to the go ahead.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure. So here's what I think is really going on, by the way. The media very rarely follows the truth, especially all at the same time. They have gotten their marching orders. They have gotten their talking points. Joe Biden, the left needs to blame somebody for the return of Donald Trump, right? Remember, Joe Biden was the only guy who could beat Donald Trump back in 2020, and he was running around in 2024 saying the same thing somehow. But they need a fall guy, and Joe Biden is the fall guy. That's why they're all turning on him. There's blood in the water. They're going to pin it on the old white guy and throw him overboard. Mark my words. They think it's going to work. It's not going to work because they still don't realize Joe Biden was a terrible candidate and a horrible human being. But it's their policies that are not popular. It's not the way they convey their message. It's the actual message that people hate.
Are they going to throw Uncle Joe under the bus, so to speak? Or because of this news of this cancer diagnosis, they're going to let him just ride off into the sunset?
That is another huge scandal, right? To me, it's even bigger than hiding the fact that he was demented. Because that was you couldn't hide that, right? The news, Mark Halperin was telling Joe Scarborough, you became a laughingstock because of how apparent it was that Joe Biden was out in space. The cancer diagnosis is more troublesome to me, right? You could say he wasn't checked for over 10 years because that's what medical guidelines say nowadays. That's BS. You can't tell me that the president of the United States has advanced prostate cancer where it's getting into his bones and is causing pain, and they did not know this until a few weeks ago. That is not possible either, right? And that is a bigger problem because that's not something that's apparent. You can't see that on a person. But the White House physician and the White House press secretary lied, okay? And that's a bigger problem. What else have they been lying about?
That is the question. And people talk about the slip up that Biden did in 2022, where he mentioned that he had cancer and adds more fuel to the fire as to whether or not he knew about it back then. The whole idea, and I understand medical standards, I understand medical costs, but this is the president of the United States. Or at the time, it was the vice president of the United States. The fact that you're penny pinching on medical testing, it just boggles my mind that would happen, that they wouldn't run a full battery of everything even if he is in his 70s or if he is in his 80s. I mean, to me, the whole idea of, well, we're not going to screen you for prostate cancer anymore because you're too old and you lived a good life. You had a good run. So if you get prostate cancer, so be it. I don't buy that. I don't think that that's the way medicine should be working here. But if it was, there has to be some responsibility for that as well.
It's not working like that with the president. There is no way. None.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, I initially called out Brian Stelter. I'm going to see if I can find the clip while we're talking. Mr. Potato Head there, the resident hall monitor for CNN, when he gave his initial reaction to the news of Joe Biden's diagnosis. Let me see if I find the right clip here while we're waiting. By the way, while you're waiting for this, guys, feel free to go through the chat. There's a great conversation going on between Coffee Grinder and Galloway in the chat if you guys want to check it out. I think it's pretty good, talking about some legal stuff and everything. It's very wonky. Very, very wonky.
I love the way Gene is going to pull up a Brian Stelter video. Like, I don't get enough of Brian Stelter nowadays, to be honest.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
This is breaking news that came just about 2 hours ago, and it is now rippling through, television media, online. How are people consuming this? How is it reaching people?
And, I'm seeing some prostate cancer survivors, people who have lived with this disease, who have been through this, expressing support, both condolences, but also support and cheering Biden on as he faces this. The timing, Jessica, is just extraordinary. We know from the statement from his personal spokesman that Biden learned of the diagnosis on Friday. Well, what was the biggest Biden story on Friday? It was the release of those audio excerpts from his conversations with Robert Hur back in 2023. This was the audio that Axios obtained, almost certainly from the Trump administration, showing memory lapses. And you heard a lot of people on Friday talking about that audio being hard to hear, even excruciating to hear. Biden showing his age on those audio tapes that had never been heard by the public until now. So on the day that story was breaking, Biden was facing this personal news. At least that's according to the statement from his personal spokesman. So you have that as one element of the timing here. And then you have, as you and Paul just acknowledged, this book coming out, one of the biggest political books in several years. Take out our colleague Jake Tapper for a second. This book, no matter where it was coming from, was going to be a very big blockbuster book. And it just so happens two of the best reporters in Washington, Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson, are the authors of it.
Sure. We have this breaking news about prostate cancer, but let me tell you about my colleague's book. You think I'm a grifter? That's a hell of a grift. To grift off of someone's cancer diagnosis. Pretty damn impressive grifting, if you ask me.
Not only that, Gene, can you imagine? Let's just change the occupation. If you were an auto mechanic and you forgot to put the lug nuts back on somebody's tires and they drove away from your gas station, wrecked in a horrible car accident, and died. And then you wrote a book about your screw up and was hawking it at the very gas station where it occurred. That's basically what CNN is doing right now. How can Jake Tapper be allowed to sell a book on the very network that employs him where he did the biggest screw up you could possibly make in news by ignoring a story that your average person knew to be true and Jake Tapper somehow missed it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a hell of a doozy, isn't it? It's the ultimate gaslighting. It's like I can't even describe the level of gaslighting that is. Let me see if I can find this clip here. Hang on. This is the. Oh, my video is a little too short. I can't use it. Never mind. So I used a clip in another video saying, gaslighting there's no such thing as gaslighting. It's just something that you made up, you crazy F. So that's what Jake Tapper's doing right now. He's gaslighting us by telling us, how dare you think I'm gaslighting you?
It's not even shocking though. And I don't know really where this gets us, right? Did anyone before, is anyone right now, Gene, honestly? Because I know you're saying just keep on belittling them, and I'm a fan, right? Berate them, belittle them, show how hypocritical they are. But is anyone right now saying, oh my God, CNN might be fake news? Did anyone have an epiphany right now because Jake Tapper wrote this book?
I don't think you need that epiphany. I think everybody now takes it as granted that CNN is fake news. I mean, the only people who are watching it are people in airports, and that's really it. There's nobody watching CNN. I don't know anybody that watches CNN. Not in the slightest. But I'll tell you where this does get us. It gets me most likely to a win for this week's Buffoon of the Week, because I nominated Jake Tapper for Buffoon of the Week based upon his gaslighting and his book. And I played this clip last Friday showing Jake Tapper doing the active gaslighting from 2020 through 2024.
Stutters feel when they see you make a comment like that?
It's very clearly a cognitive decline.
Okay.
That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable.
You have I can't. That's so amazing. It's so amazing to me that
try and figure out an answer.
A cognitive decline. President Biden embraces his stutter, talking about it, while Trump mocks it, exaggerates it, belittles it. He's sharp physically. I mean, mentally. Yeah. I think the question is physically, right?
Right.
More so?
Right.
Right. And the guy who's his chief opponent is only 3 or 4 years younger than him.
Exactly.
I mean, you have questioned President Biden's age, mental fitness, ability to lead. Of those supporting Biden, you said, quote, "Shame on all of you pretending everything is okay. You're leading us and him into a disaster." Do you worry that you damaged him at all? I don't doubt that you got hugs and handshakes behind closed doors today, and maybe even publicly, some of them because they like you personally. But I've heard a lot of really nasty stuff about you from your Democratic colleagues. Sure. I mean, just like, what is he thinking? Exercise in narcissism. I mean, false claims to the Wall Street Journal about President Biden's mental fitness and acuity. He's 81, and his memory, you know, it doesn't seem great. It's not horrible, but I don't understand the outrage.
And it goes on and on and on. But since you were talking about retribution, you turned me onto this clip from Megyn Kelly's show where she was interviewing Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson. And let me tell you, you want to talk about retribution? Megyn Kelly is America's retribution.
Biden to be transparent about his health records in an interview in 2020. I did ask him about the fact that voters thought that he was not transparent at all. No,
he promised you that he would be transparent about his health records, and then he wasn't. And when you sat with him again, including 1 month after the Jackie Walorski thing, you didn't ask him about it. You didn't follow up on the fact that he was falling up the stairs, that he was losing his train of thought regularly, that he was slurring, that he was incomprehensible, that he was getting lost on the White House lawn. You sat right across from him and you asked none of that, notwithstanding the fact that he had promised you he would be fully transparent about his health issues. You know as well as I do that there's a way of, you can say, hey, there's this poll on your age, or you could say, you just forgot that Jackie Walorski was dead. You asked where she was moments after watching a videotape tribute to her. You lowered the flags at the White House after she died. This happened 13 days before you sat with him. There is a way of pressing a man like that on the actual infirmities to bring it home to him and to the audience, and you didn't do it. It wasn't just that. I mean, you sat with him a couple of times in the course of his presidency, and these issues were not pressed. Well, there was at least that time, and then there was the time at the beginning. And but separate and apart from that, you covered the Biden's presidency. No. Let me just finish my point. You covered the Biden presidency. Okay, right. And it was 13 days after the Jackie Walorski thing. But you covered the Biden presidency aggressively throughout the 4 years, and you didn't cover mental acuity hardly at all. I mean, time and time again, when issues came up, you seemed to be running cover for the president.
Is anybody else watching Alex Thompson on the right of the screen there, trying to blend into the Sirius XM background like he doesn't want to be there? Like it was that uncomfortable for him?
How about Jake? He doesn't look too comfortable either.
Oh, no, he's the target. And Megyn Kelly is just unleashing on him. Yeah, grab a cigarette, guys, because, you know, you might like the ending.
Interested. Do you want to apologize?
Did you want to say something, pal?
I just wanted to ask you before you finish this clip, Gene, what was Jake Tapper's, what did he think was going to happen here, right? I know he's trying to sell a book. But does he think people that watch Megyn Kelly's podcast were somehow going to be open to listening to Jake's gaslighting and go out and buy his book? Like, what was the play here? I don't understand.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what the play was here to tap into the anti-Biden sentiment of the audience, thinking that he wouldn't have any blowback. I don't know. I don't know what the play was there, but it wasn't anything great. We're going to keep on going here, though.
Time and time again, when issues came up, you seemed to be running cover for the president.
I don't
You didn't
think
seem
that's
interested.
true.
Do you want to apologize to Lara Trump now?
I've already apologized to her. I called her months ago.
I feel angry because she was right. And not only did you not allow her to make her comments, but you seemed to try to humiliate her. You had a hostility toward the position, but she was totally right. And then you lectured her on how she was in no position to diagnose cognitive decline, which you guys do at length, including on page 4 of your book. You describe at length his cognitive decline, which is all she tried to do with you. But you had such a visceral reaction to her.
Joe Biden has been saying stupid things for decades. Okay?
I get
And
what you're
he's
saying,
been-
but this minimizes it too, because it was
No,
more
I'm
than
not
saying
minimizing it at all.
stupid things. But I'm telling you, like over here in my ecosphere, we were covering all of these. It wasn't just falling down; it was getting lost. It was some of the stuff you report in your book. We knew, and we were reporting on, like the multi-jump cuts in the videos of him, where it was obvious he couldn't get through a 1-minute take, so they had to use those. It was clear to us that he was using teleprompter, and there was some reporting on that at the time, all of which the White House was denying. Now, with the current White House, I have some connections. With the Joe Biden White House, I had none. But you did. You did. And so while you've been in Washington 30 years, Jake, you guys, you and CNN have White House connections, but there was no effort, none to get to the bottom of this. And now for you guys to write this book like there was a cover up, it's like there was a cover up and there was an attempted cover up. It could only ever work if you allowed it.
I did ask.
Yeah. Megyn Kelly. Where was this Megyn Kelly at Fox News? That she had to get burned by the system to turn in this sort of effort.
Yeah. I mean, I just dropped something in the chat that we should maybe put this clip in post edit. You know, Joe Biden, remember when he was on the campaign trail, Gene? And he was at that black pool and he's talking about when he was a lifeguard and that he had hairy legs and kids used to rub his hair and he used to pop up. Like, dude, the guy was gone prior to 2020, let alone 2024, right? Megyn Kelly demolished this guy. And I do want to say, first, and she failed to mention one other thing. Like, it was very clear. Hannity did a good job of this. They used to zoom in on these palm cards he used to bring out for every meeting where there were talking points and telling him where to sit and where to stand and what to say. And all the reporters' questions were pre-screened and it told him which reporter to call on, right? Like, the guy was clearly out of it. And I just want to say one more thing about Jake Tapper, Gene. You had the luckiest week. And I know we're going to talk about it on Friday, so I'm not going to go too into this.
What?
But you nominated a dude who totally disintegrated in the days after your nomination. Very good job, Nostradamus. That was brilliant. Jake Tapper has gotten worse. He's still the main news story a week later.
Maybe I'm smart enough to recognize that was going to happen. Did you ever think of that? You want to say luck? Really? Come on. Well, listen, we're going to be moving on to another topic, but since we're way past halftime here, I do want to say, hey, everybody, thanks for tuning into the show. I'm Gene, he's Ross. We are Behind Enemy Lines. We hope you're enjoying what you're seeing right now. If you are, and you're on YouTube or Rumble, go ahead and subscribe, follow all the things you need to do. If you're watching on X, do the same. If you're out there on KLRN Radio on X, checking us out there, what up, everybody there? We love you guys. Hope you're enjoying it as well. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, all the good stuff we ask you to do. And please go check out buffoonoftheweek.com. I got to show everybody all the really, really great stuff that's going on at buffoonoftheweek.com. I got to share my screen here and just brag a little bit about the website itself. I mean, look at this big, beautiful website here. You know, every video we do comes with an accompanying blog post where if there are things that we missed to talk about in the actual video itself, it'll be up on the blog. But as you go through here, you know, we're putting in a lot of work, a lot of effort into all these videos. You'll find all of our Buffoonology 101 stuff as well. And there'll be links to subscribe to all of our social media, all of the content out there. So check out buffoonoftheweek.com. And if you're so inclined, you can also pick up some merch. We have merch available on YouTube under the store tab that we have there. You can also go to shop.buffoonoftheweek.com to pick out some cool Behind Enemy Line stuff and some other cool and creative merch created by the good people here on this show. Why are you always laughing when I'm trying to grow the show and make things a little bit better for all of us here? Huh?
The good people, as in Gene.
Lord knows you don't do anything. Oh, hey, Coffee Grinder's a new sub. Hey, man, girl, I don't know what you are. I'm not going to assume your gender because Ross always gets mad at me about that. Thank you very much for being a new subscriber. I'm glad that you're having fun with us. We're having fun here with you as well. We got other things to talk about. I did a video earlier this morning, and I made this intro clip that I just wanted to show Ross in case he didn't see it, because I know that he doesn't watch the channel. Just check this out. That about summarizes what happened this week. We have the Trump DOJ hard at work. You know, we were talking about how justice grinds slowly. Look what's going on just this week alone about these cases moving forward. We have LaMonica McIver being charged with felony assault. We have an investigation opening up against Andrew Cuomo for his alleged perjury before Congress. And we had Letitia James reacting, her first public reaction to her own investigation going on concerning her possible mortgage fraud. A lot of irons in the fire here, pal, for nothing going on.
Yeah, and we'll see where these go. I mean, Andrew Cuomo, just real quick, man, like, for you people that are watching from New York right now, in what world does Andrew Cuomo become a serious contender for mayor? And in all likelihood, he's going to be the next mayor of New York City. In what world is that even possible, right? We talk about Jake Tapper still working at CNN and writing a book, but you people in New York are about to elect this man mayor of your city, the biggest city in the country. Unreal.
Yeah, you people in New York City, not you people, me. I'm in New York, but I'm not in the city. So I want to kick things off here a little bit with Letitia James, because like I said, she made some recent comments publicly. She was at some benefit as a keynote speaker, probably raking in a lot of money from it. And CBS News was there to cover this event. And I just want to go back and revisit this clip.
Letitia James with some tough words against the Trump administration. She is forcefully defending herself from a mortgage fraud investigation launched by the Justice Department. And she spoke with political reporter Marcia Kramer.
It was the first time New York Attorney General Letitia James spoke before the Association for a Better New York in 4 years, and she had a terse message for the city's movers and shakers about a probe launched by the Trump Justice Department into allegations of mortgage fraud.
This investigation into me is nothing more than retribution. It's baseless.
The probe centers on charges she falsified records related to her home in Brooklyn and loan documents for a Virginia property she was co-signing for a niece.
It has to do with the fact that on a power of attorney, I mistakenly indicated that I was a state of Virginia, but prior to that, I had indicated to the mortgage broker that, in fact, in bold cap letters, that I am not a resident of Virginia and never.
This is the update I want to show you. So Letitia James claims this was all a document mistake. It's all just paperwork that got screwed up. It was a mistake. I seem to remember her rejecting a similar argument to that Donald Trump was making during his own litigation involving Letitia James. And that argument didn't fly. But I did a little digging, pal. And I want to show you this article from whitecollarfraud.com. So a website that is run by a gentleman named Sam Antar. And he did some digging, and I'm not going to go through all 16 minutes of reading of this article. He did some digging into the timeline of this alleged mistake excuse that Letitia James was making. Basically, as you see from the executive summary here on the website, new timeline evidence conclusively disproves Letitia James's defense in her mortgage fraud case. Documents show she knowingly signed contradictory statements about property residency to secure favorable loan terms, mirroring the very type of financial misrepresentation she prosecuted Donald Trump for in her $250 million civil fraud case that later resulted in a $454 million judgment. What does he mean by that? Here's the key finding, because we're not going to have to read the whole thing, thanks to Mr. Antar's summaries here. You just heard Letitia James say this again yesterday in that clip we just showed how she told her mortgage broker that on August 3rd, the Virginia home would not be her primary residence. But just 2 weeks later, on August 17th, she signed a legally binding power of attorney explicitly stating that she intended to make it her principal residence. Having it be your principal residence gives you a more favorable mortgage term, and especially on interest. If the property is owner occupied, as people may know, you get a better rate than it would be for an investment property or a property that you're co-signing for. The statement was used to secure more favorable loan terms. Her lawyer now claims the power of attorney was a mistake and that it was recorded and that it was corrected afterwards. But the document he cites as proof of that correction, the broker email and loan form, actually came first, not after. In fact, it's dated August 3rd, 2 weeks before the power of attorney was signed. Now, I just want to go back. I promise, pal, I'm going to let you talk here in a second. But I want to just put this back on the screen.
Meanwhile, FBI Director Cash.
And I don't want to go further into the story, but that's the email that she furnished that came before she signed the POA. Yeah. If everybody's following along with what I'm saying here, and maybe I'm speaking a little too fast, Letitia James has provided the actual proof that may conclusively find her guilty of these alleged mortgage fraud claims. Now that everybody has been turned cross-eyed by what I'm saying, go ahead, pal, and try to clean up what I was saying here.
No, I mean, I'm not a lawyer. She is one, right? She is a lawyer. She filled out the forms. She signed her name to those forms. She went after Donald Trump for a business record in his private business that someone else filled out, and he is not a lawyer. She said no one is above the law. So now she must pay. And I like this and I support this. And for you New Yorkers, I love bashing you guys. If you're not aware of this, your state legislature, Democrat supermajority, signed by Governor Hochul, has passed a law that will allow Letitia James to draw funds from your tax dollars to pay her legal expenses. The law says that government workers can claim legal expenses for acts that are not necessarily acts of their employment, but private matters if they're charged by the federal government through retribution. So Letitia James will be getting her legal fees paid by you suckers who are paying your taxes in the state of New York. Good luck.
Yeah, and in the same form and fashion that Andrew Cuomo had his $54 million in legal fees covered by taxpayers. It's a pattern that keeps going on and on here, pal.
Now, will she claim that? And this is where it gets sloppy, Gene, right? Will she claim that as an in-kind political contribution when she runs for her next office, right? Because if a hush money payment or a non-disclosure act with Stormy Daniels was supposed to be marked not as a legal expense, but as a campaign contribution, then shouldn't she have to file this as a campaign? Will anybody be watching to see if she does it? We know New York's not going to charge her.
Nobody's going to be watching anything, in my opinion. Nobody's going to be watching anything. It's just the way it is. It's how things are done when you're a Democrat in the People's Republic of New York. They don't care. As long as you're useful, as we learned from Joe Biden, as long as you remain useful, they don't care. Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. Bronx Tale. Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. Think McMahon's going to pay your rent? The working man, that's the real hero.
You sucker. He's a sucker.
He's a sucker. All right, listen, we're just about at the end of the show here. I know you wanted to get to talking about what happened in the White House today with the president of South Africa coming to meet with Donald Trump and what Donald Trump did to in that moment. I want to see if I can find the right clip here. There's a whole bunch of clips I'm finding, pal. I'm looking for one that's maybe like the most compact that we can watch. Hang on. So I have the clip up ready to go of the president queuing up a video for the president of South Africa to watch. You want to set up this clip?
for those of you guys who didn't see it, I mean, you're about to see it, but the quote unquote president of South Africa met with the great one, Donald Trump, in the White House today. And the media is calling this an ambush. But Donald Trump brought the receipts, set up a TV, and watch what he played. This is brilliant.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because I missed this. This is in context of the influx of South African, I guess we'll call them refugees, people seeking asylum here in America, fearing for their lives in South Africa, right?
Yeah, and real briefly, because I know we're running out of time, the problem is like it's genocidal there, right? Nelson Mandela was freed. There was apartheid. I get it. But now, if you're following the news, but the news hardly reports this, white farmers who were the historic farmers there who own land are being killed at record rates and having their land stolen from them. And there are political parties in that country, and this president said some pretty stupid things himself, who are encouraging the killing of these white farmers at packed out stadiums. And Donald Trump confronts him over this.
And I love that he's doing this in front of Elon Musk, who's standing behind the couch there. You might see. All right, let's roll the clip.
And just put this on. It's right behind you, Johan.
There's nothing this parliament can do. With or without you, people are going to occupy land. We require no permission from you, from the president, from no one. We don't care.
You see, I like this clip because it's clear that the South African president didn't know what the hell was going on when it started. Did you see him look at Trump and like, what is this?
And it's great. There's other clips, and I encourage people to go find them. When you look at the other people in the room from the South Africa delegation, they're humiliated.
Yeah, I'm gonna find another. I'm gonna find another version of the clip here to see what I can put up. This one might be better. Let me take a look. Oh no, this is something else here. I believe this is South African president brought some white golfers with him to try to prove there's no systemic persecution. Golfer Retief Goosen, who's I guess an older golfer, tells Trump that his dad's farmer friends have been killed and farms are constantly being burned. So I'm gonna get my windows together. I'm gonna get my you-know-what together here and share this one. Here we go. Push a few buttons, and there we are.
It is a farmland area, Bullet One, and there is some issues up there. Obviously, my dad was a property developer as well as a part-time farmer, and some of these buddy farmers got killed. The farm is still going. My brothers run it, but it's a constant battle with farms they're trying to burn the farms down to chase you away. So it is a concern to try and make a living as a farmer. And at the end of the day, without farmers, there's no food on the plate. So we need the farmers to produce the food.
Farming, right? He wouldn't do it. He wouldn't even want to do what you're doing. Right? They love farming. They don't want to leave. But it's a struggle.
Yeah, and food and fresh water is the most important thing in life. Without those two things, you can't survive.
How is the water there?
The water is great. Obviously, all the water comes out of the borehole, out of ground for us down there. But it is a battle to get the water out sometimes when all the equipment gets stolen.
Yeah, that's great. Their water is just good. But the part I wanted to bring out there was the discussion about, these farmers, they're getting killed. And this is one of the people that the South African president brought with him to meet the president of the United States.
They should all leave as soon as possible. Get the hell out of there and let them have it. Let them farm. You know what I mean? We're not going to go to war with South Africa. South Africa should be sanctioned. The white farmers should be given asylum here, and let them figure it out. Let them figure out how to operate the machinery and feed their people. That's my view.
Yeah, I listen. If people's lives are in danger and they want to come here, okay. I mean, we've been doing it with Cuba. We've been doing it with Haiti, Dominican Republic. If your lives are in danger, Mexico, South American places. I mean, if you have people, if you're being targeted for death, by all means, I think we should provide safe haven for those people. I think this is dispelling one narrative about how Trump hates immigrants, but fueling another one that Trump is racist. What do you think about that?
No, I agree. I'm saving the rest of my final thoughts because that's where this is headed. So if you want, I'll transition right now into that.
Would you mind doing that? I can put up the final thought banner and we can signal to people that this is the end. My lonely friend, the end. No. Go ahead, pal. The floor is yours.
I think what Trump did was brilliant. There's lots of longer clips out there. I encourage everyone to go watch them. He really let him have it, and he gave some great examples of how, despite what the media in our country doesn't report news, and Trump actually calls out several networks during this press conference and calls them out for not reporting news. But the same media is going absolutely insane over 60 white farmers who were granted asylum by Donald Trump to come into this country. They did not bat an eye when over 10 million people came from all over Africa, Asia, the Middle East, including Afghanistan, and south of our border, Central America and South America. They didn't bat an eye when over 10 million unvetted people came here. Elon Musk was standing there, and you know what Elon Musk said the other day? That he wants to bring Starlink to South Africa. But you know why he can't? Because they won't give him authority to do it because he's white. And he's not some white guy trying to start a business in South Africa. Elon Musk is South African. That's where he was born. That's his home country. And they won't let him open a business because of the color of his skin. That country needs to be sanctioned. They're absolutely endorsing genocide against their white population, specifically their farmers, and we should be helping those people out, bringing them here, and isolating South Africa. That's my final thought.
I certainly agree with you wholeheartedly on that. My final thought is going back to what we were talking about earlier and talking about Joe Biden and who knew what and when they knew it. One other old white guy that Ross will tell you is on the outs of the Democratic Party is Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer has been grilled, I should say, by friendly media asking about when he knew Joe Biden was no longer in control of his mental acuity. And you know what his response has been? I'm not going to answer the question. We're moving on. How crazy is that? To think that a person in leadership, been in leadership for 40 years, has the goal to tell you when to move on from a subject matter of concern, especially one that involves a cover-up that went on for over a year. I just want you to listen to, this is a press conference clip from the Senate. I want you to check this out.
You said in June of last year, in my meetings with President Biden, I found him to be in command and impressive and wielding influence to make progress on key priorities. But in that same month, Biden apparently did not even recognize George Clooney at a fundraiser. Were you being straight with the American public?
Look, we're just looking forward.
We're just looking forward. Isn't that a great thing to say? No, we're not looking forward. We're looking to go beyond you. Going forward does not mean with you in charge. It means without you along for the ride. Now, luckily, Republicans aren't going to have to vote you out because you're in the People's Republic of New York State, and it's virtually impossible for that to happen. What's going to end up happening is the younger generation, the crazier generation, the far left generation led by AOC, those are the people that are going to take you out and leave the Democratic Party more extreme than we see these days. So I'm going to end my final thought there and basically say, screw you, Galloway. I can read the chat and look at the camera at the same time. And notice that you're saying that we're late. We're not late on the show. By the way, Coffee Grinder, one of our newer viewers, and we're glad you're here, man. If you ever want to come hang out actually on camera, we do have the capability to do that as well one day. We just gotta get in touch with me. My contact information on socials is in the description of every video, by the way. Yes, we do the show Wednesday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern time on YouTube, Rumble, and X. Not at 9:03, not at 8:57. And if we are late, I would say it's 70-30 my fault, but there is that 30% when the diva of the show comes on and says, oh, am I late? What did I miss? Or he'll come in while the music's playing. or he'll come in like 10 seconds into the show, and I have to bring him on. So, yeah, 9 p.m. Eastern time for all the newbies out there watching. And honestly, I'm glad we're here. We've had a solid crowd all night. We really appreciate everybody hanging out with us. But I think, pal, it's time for us to get back into the shadows where we belong and shut this sucker down. What are you thinking?
I agree, Gene. Trump 2028, baby.
Did you ever sign up on that website that we talked about, the Third Term Project?
Oh man, I've looked at it.
Oh boy, you know what? We got to talk about that again real soon. But that's for another show, folks. So thanks once again for tuning in. I'm Gene. He's Ross. We are Behind Enemy Lines, and we're getting the hell out of here. Now play our motherfucking anthem.
We're not allowed, not without electoral.
Go fuck yourself. Is that clear?
Teeth, don't let them have sway. Conservative battalions walking them out, marching through the streets while the buffoons all shout. Move in the shadows, flag on my chest, repping my clan, putting faith to the test. Cause we're fake news behind enemy lines, fighting for the truth, feels like wartime. Don't back down, keep it rugged and raw, cool in the chaos, but loud in the roar. But loud in the roar. If I ever stand with a smirk and a gaze, holding down the fort in this Democrat cage. Whispers in the dark, strategies unfold, allies on speed, but bonds remain bold. Commitment to the cause in the heart of the storms. In the name of freedom, we're breaking the norm. Cause we're staying blues behind enemy lines, fighting for the truth, feels like wartime. Don't back down, keep it rugged and raw, cool in the chaos, but loud in this war. Feels like wartime.